Hey everyone, it's Nick from Nick's Crossing. I have some great news today. Actually, I have the garden almost ready to run 3 trains, and I'm going to share that experience with you guys for the first time. I haven't run this many trains in a garden before, and also want to give you guys a little bit of an update what I've been doing with the garden, and also want to do a mini repair video. So I got a lot of stuff going on. Let's get to it.
Just really quick, I want to show you what's going on under the layout. So as you can see, it's much more organized than before. And these Williams and Lionel boxes, the tote there and that also pink tote, and these 2 upper shelves were all given to me this week by a family friend just through unfortunate circumstances, and they wanted them out of their house. I mean, it's an excellent collection. They're in a great home. A lot of them need repairs. I think the Williams stuff should be okay because of the maintenance-free motors. Just might need some lubrication on like the gear sets or whatnot. But I still need to go through and run them, which is more fun for you guys because that means you guys get to see way more run days and way more trains on the tracks that, you know, will even surprise me and all kinds of goodies. But I'm going to go up top here and show you guys what's going on top of the layout. So if you've seen layout update number 1, this looks a lot different than that video. It's just insane. I mean, I can't believe I did this. About 6 hours of work later, I ended up putting in this bottom track here on the inner loop, and I had to move all these wooden pylons or wooden piers, so to say, out of the way, and then place them in areas so the top would still be stable. And then on top of that, I took out where the milk station or milk staging area was for my refrigerator cars, put in this piece of cut track, move that switch down here for the inner loop, and then created this little siding here or a little service. I installed my log loader, and I found one of these accessory tracks at a local train shop, so I could finally use my beloved log loader that takes up so much room. But it is so cool. It's loud. It smells like you know, that just that 50s metal motor smell, like that ozone smell. It's so cool. But yeah, and on top of that, you know, once you put your track in, then you go through phases of testing. So I put my trusty C&O on the track, and she does great for testing. I mean, she has magnet traction, has all this stuff on the front, like all these catch points here in the front or in the back. And I'm like, okay, it's good to go. And then I ran my newly acquired E7 in the back. And I was like, okay, well, she's hitting everything. So I had to go to plan B, which was then taking this New York Central, I believe this is an F7 or F3 unit from Williams, next to the E7 unit from Williams, and I ran them on the track at the same time by just pushing them, and if they touched at any point, I would have to distance the track. So I want to say that took about an hour or 2 just getting the clearance right. Avoided all my pylons here and didn't collide with incoming trains, and then any of my buildings here, and these are just temporary spots. I still need to fully, you know, glorify this thing with scenery and grass and people and cars. And I'm planning on putting a road actually right before this switch here, right where that switcher engine is. And to run back here for like a small, you know, a couple of houses or something. Nothing too crazy. But the purpose of this garden really was to run trains and just have fun. The towns kind of take up a little bit of room, but I still also have room up here and room over there. So it's not really a big loss if I can't put in a huge town. But first, I actually want to repair this radioactive car that was recently acquired. So I wanted to put it on the track and see if it ran, see how this thing worked, because I've always been curious. And it appears there's just like a bulb, almost like a blinker in a car, so to say. And this is what it looks like on the inside. But the problem is the light works, which isn't the problem, but one of the leads off the bulb have corroded off. So I'm going to put a quick solder patch in there with a wire and see if it works. And then after that, I'm going to get to running some trains. But I'll show you guys how to do this little repair really quick. And if you guys aren't comfortable doing this, I recommend always to send it to a service center or your local hobby shop that is a service center. So here's the socket and bulb from that radioactive car set. And these bulbs are pretty cool. I mean, they work intermittently as like a flicker effect. It kind of reminds me of like old school Christmas lights. But the socket here is in really good shape other than some water damage in there, and the foam that holds the bulb steady from rattling kind of disintegrated when I tried to get this out. So that's usually a telltale sign of some type of moisture or water damage that occurred. But I mean, I'm not exactly worried about it. I'm going to fix it. But today we're going to need some wire cutting tools here. I love these things. You can do all kinds of crimping and cutting and stripping with these. Also using my Weller soldering iron that has a LED point light at it. I'm also using Harris lead-free solder that I picked up from Depot. And always be careful with solder. They do contain some trace amounts of lead. So always make sure you wash your hands after working on that stuff. But anyways, I've already stripped the wire, so you guys didn't have to see me struggle through that. It's kind of tough. It's a little piece of 18 gauge wire. And I believe this is Atlas wire from Atlas Trains. And this wire is great. I've rewired tons of stuff with it. I've rewired actually a couple post-war engines with it and accessories. It works pretty well. So what I'm going to try to do here is use the soldering iron. I'm going to tin the iron, create some smoke here. I'm going to tin this wire. That's a little too much, but it'll be all right. That's all tinned up. We'll let this thing cool because this is really hot. All right, guys, I was able to twist those together. Man, this is barely holding on, but with the solder, it should be able to marry these two pieces together. And it's kind of rejecting it. There's still some type of crud on there, I guess. Oh, it burns. Ow. All right. Look, we're soldered on there. Look at that. It's not pretty, but I mean, once it's in this shell, you won't see any of this. And I picked red wire on purpose. I mean, you have a red shell, red wire, so you won't even see it. So the next step is to take this and then solder this in one of my sides. And there's already a nice loop in there. These little circles here, just great for putting a wire in, just doing a quick solder joint. So let me do that, and we'll be rolling, hopefully. So the solder denied this rivet here that's brass. It should cling to it, but it didn't, just because it, it's a little bit dirty. There's some corrosion on there or whatnot, or just water damage. But you can see this one's all shiny on this side. And it's a 8/32 drill bit, just by hand spinning it over top, really cleaned it up. And I'm gonna do the same thing to this one over here, because I intend to solder both leads in. And just really gently pushing down. You don't want to pop the rivet out, because these are really soft contacts here. And look at that. I mean, they're all shiny and new. Yeah. That is not going anywhere. I mean, that is in there tight. I don't want to pull on it. I'm not going to mess with that anymore, but here's the bottom of it. It's a nice little clean joint. A little bit of a glob in there. But that is holding really well. So I'm going to put a little bit of a solder joint in here where that rivet is. And there's enough solder on here to work with. Just put a little blob. Let's see. Look at that. Boom. Let that cool down for a second. Yeah, it doesn't look so bad. Look at that. And it should work, which is the exciting part. So this excess here, little tail, I'm going to cut that off with one of my cutting tools. I actually have these blunt cutters here, like a bullnose cutter. Just go in there and cut off. Not too much, just in case you have to get back in there if this solder joint breaks or something, but look at that. It's all cleaned up and ready to roll. So now this thing's all warmed up and it's blinking like crazy and it's buzzing and it's full of life and animation. I mean, this is such a cool little car. But if you guys have a similar engine or car with similar features, I highly recommend to use the bulb that's recommended in here or intended for its use. I have a feeling if you put like an 18 volt bulb in here or a 12 to 15 volt AC bulb, these little gels or the plastic gels in here would melt. And it's built for an intermittent bulb. I'd put an intermittent bulb back in. But just a small recommendation. I'd hate to see you guys burn up your trains or destroy anything. So for today's run day, I'm running this C&O Ugly Duckling, also known as the BL2 by EMD. And this is a Williams model, and I haven't actually ran this engine yet. But on my lower line here, and this is a Protosound 1 rendition of a GP9, and it's got the Western Maryland road name. So I think this engine was a custom shop, and the gentleman who owned it passed away, and his son was trying to sell them at a train show. And these were going for like double-digit numbers. I mean, his son just wanted them away. I mean, this is a great engine. It's one of my favorites, and I love the color scheme. Even though I believe this engine would have been all black in this era of trains. So on the bottom track tonight, I'm running this awesome E7 set with a bunch of C&O Maddison cars that are hiding under there. But they're all lit up, and you guys will see them going around when I set this thing up on the tripod. But this is a Baltimore and Ohio E7. This is a Williams model of it, and they look amazing. I love the paint scheme on it, or any type of color scheming on it, especially the front light on top is actually a Mars light that you guys will see go off when it goes around. Thank you for joining me in this little repair video, layout reveal, and also run day. So I hope to do more videos like this very soon, but if you can, just please like, comment, subscribe, and hope to see you guys in future videos. Thank you so much.